Hello everybody and welcome to the 11th video in our series of videos on war and peace in Europe between 1920 and 1945, and this is our second video covering the Second World War. As always, we begin with our learning outcomes, so by the end of this presentation you guys should know 4 facts about the Blitz. You guys should know 3 campaigns that Italy was involved in during World War II, and finally you guys should know 4 facts about the war in North Africa. So today we will be looking at the continued German attack on Britain in 1940 and 1941, which is known as the Blitz. We'll also be referencing the Battle of the Atlantic. We'll be looking at Italy's involvement in the war, and finally we'll be looking at the British campaign in North Africa. So as we saw last week, Germany had abandoned their tactic of trying to defeat the RAF by September of 1940, and instead they changed their tactics to bombing British cities. This event was known as the Blitz, and the Blitz lasted from September 1940 to May of 1941. Cardiff was the first city that was bombed in the Blitz, but Germany continued to bomb cities like London, Liverpool and Coventry, and these caused massive civilian casualties. The reason behind the Blitz was that Germany were trying to destroy British factories to stop their ability to make war, and also they were trying to break the will of the people of Britain also. Conditions in London were particularly difficult, with the city being bombed 71 times throughout the time period of the Blitz, including a stretch where they were bombed 57 nights in a row as well. Britain tried to counteract these attacks using a variety of tactics. The blackout was a nationwide effort to turn off all lights in towns and cities. It was devised as a defense against German bombers, so they could not be guided by the lights. Cities also had anti-aircraft guns. They had searchlights to blind the German planes, and they also had barrage balloons to try to stop bombs from falling on targets or to get aircraft caught up. There was also a variety of bomb shelters used. The most common was a shelter known as the Anderson shelter, which was a small shelter that could be put in a garden. People would try to put them, dig them underground. And there were over 3 million of these Anderson shelters were put up all over Britain during the Blitz. The London Underground was also used as a shelter, especially for people who had lost their homes in the bombings also. Everyone was given a gas mask. There was fears that the bombs might contain poisonous gas, and the gas mask would protect the wearer from the deadly fumes. Children were given masks with Mickey Mouse on them to try to make them less scary. A lot of children were also evacuated to the countryside to try to keep them safe during the bombing. Belfast was also bombed 4 times during April and May of 1941, with over 1,100 people being killed. Banno Bay in Wexford also was accidentally bombed. Ireland, remember, remained neutral during World War II, but there was still this bombing in Wexford. With the Blitz, more than 40,000 people were killed during the Blitz, and Germany eventually stopped in May of 1941 as they were about to launch the assault on Russia. More than 40,000 civilians were killed during the Blitz. About 87,000 people were seriously injured, and 2 million houses were destroyed in the Blitz. 60% of the houses of these 2 million were in London alone. So with no foothold in Europe, Britain had to really continue fighting Germany in other theatres of war. One of these places was the Atlantic Ocean. The Battle of the Atlantic was a naval battle, with Germany attempting to further isolate Britain by cutting off vital supplies from the United States. Remember, the United States was still neutral at this point. Germany, they couldn't match Britain's heavy ships fleet, and this was really illustrated by the sinking of the Germany's biggest ship, the Bismarck, in May of 1941. However, Germany's most lethal weapon in the Battle of the Atlantic was the U-boat, which were German submarines, and they were responsible for sinking over 175 Allied warships. However, eventually the British cracked the German Enigma code, which gave them forewarning as to where U-boats were, and they also developed better sonar to deal with the U-boats. So the U-boats became less of a threat after the development of these two things: the cracking of the Enigma code and the development of better sonar. Now we are going to turn our attention to another power involved in World War II, and that is Italy. So remember, during the 1930s, Italy and Germany signed the Pact of Steel, which meant that they became military allies. However, when World War II began, the Italians were not in a position to join the war on the side of Germany straight away. And this was due to their involvement in the invasion of Abyssinia, which we looked at is on the right there. Their involvement in the Spanish Civil War, which lasted from 1936 to 1939. And in 1939, Italy also annexed Albania, which would be on the heel of Italy. But with Germany having defeated France, Mussolini rushed a declaration of war against Britain and France so that he would be in a stronger position at future negotiations, because he'd be able to say that Italy also fought in the war. So on the 10th of June 1940, after the evacuation of the British Expeditionary Force, or the BEF, and other Allied troops from Dunkirk, Italy declared war. So remember, the last BEF, or British troops, were out of Dunkirk on the 4th of June, and 6 days later, Italy declared war on France and Britain. The main focus of Italian fighting when they joined the war was in North Africa and Greece. The Greek campaign didn't go as planned, and with fears of British troops getting a foothold there and disrupting oil flowing from Romanian oil fields seen here, which were crucial to the war effort, Hitler sent reinforcements. Eventually, by the end of April 1941, Greece was defeated, thanks to Germany coming down and helping out with that war effort for Italy. Like I said, the North Africa campaign was a big campaign that lasted from the 10th of June 1940, when Italy declared war, to the 13th of May 1943. The main theatre of war there was between the Italian-controlled Libya, which we can see here in green, and the British-controlled Egypt, which we can see here in purple. Britain felt it was crucial to hold the Suez Canal, which you can see, which is highlighted here with the circle, which it acts as a link to the Indian Ocean, Pacific Oceans, and India, which was part of the British Empire. The Italian campaigns turned out to be completely lacking in preparation, and they were absolutely disastrous. Hitler had to send reinforcements to North Africa to aid Italy again. These reinforcements were famously known as the Afrika Corps. These reinforcements were under the command of Erwin Rommel, who earned the nickname of the Desert Fox due to his cunning tactics. He waged a very clever campaign that nearly defeated the British. However, the turning point of the war in North Africa came when British forces under this man here, General Montgomery, defeated the Germans and Italians at El Alamein in October of 1942. This pushed the Axis troops from this area here, El Alamein, all the way back here to Tunis in Tunisia. So they were out of Egypt and out of Libya and back in Tunisia. So in November of 1942, US troops landed in Morocco and Algeria in an operation known as Operation Torch. When they landed here, the Americans defeated the forces of Vichy France. Remember, Vichy France was a puppet government for Germany. They were in charge of Algeria and Morocco. Once they were defeated by the Americans, they actually switched sides, the forces in North Africa, the Vichy forces, and joined the Allied sides. And the Allied troops encircled the Italian and German forces here at Tunis, as we said before. So they came, pushed them up from Alamein in the east, and then Operation Torch came from the west, and the Germans and Italians were here. Germany rushed troops into Tunis, this area here, in an attempt to ensure that the Allies wouldn't have a jumping off point for an invasion of Italy. But by May of 1943, they realised that this was completely untenable, and they evacuated North Africa, and this brought an end to the war in North Africa. So that brings us to the end of our presentation. So you guys should now know 4 facts about the Blitz. You guys should know 3 campaigns that Italy was involved in during World War II. So the Greek campaign, Albania and North Africa. And finally, you guys should know 4 facts about the war in North Africa. Thanks for watching. Hope you guys got something good from this video.